stems from the meeting planners making the right choices.
That's right.
Because a great meeting planner that's really in tune with the client, really in tune with what the audience needs and what the client really expects and what specific concepts that they want nurtured and what experience they want to have, then the meeting planner is going to make sure that they present the client with speakers that are going to create that transition, create that metamorphosis, create that unexpected, incredible experience.
Hello and welcome to today's version of the Keynote Curators podcast. I'm Seth Dechtman, your Keynote Curator. You're in for a real treat today. Cher, Billy Idol, Pink, Beyonce, Stevie Nicks, you name it. Our guest, Mark Schulman, has worked with all of those artists and many, many more. He's a world-renowned drummer, author, motivator, and expert on the secrets of a rock star performance. Our conversation covers all sorts of topics that are going to help you be a better performer and more connected with your customers and your teammates. It's an enriching conversation. Thank you for joining us. You're going to be smarter for it. All righty, as we say, let's rock and roll, baby. From Spinal Tap, let's go.
Look what I've got, especially for you, Seth, because I know how much you feel the importance that a drummer always have a set of drumsticks around. So I'm going to sign these and send these to you from the interview. It's going to be for you exclusively.
They're going to go right next to Mickey Mouse and John Wooden's basketball. So I couldn't think of a better place for them to be placed.
So privileged. I'm so privileged.
So Mark, where does this podcast find you today?
Oh, I'm on the road. I just did 2 gigs in a row, one in Kansas City and now Huntington Beach. And that's why the lighting is not so good. I'm working like crazy. I'm so grateful. And I actually quit touring. I'm no longer with Pink. I've been with Pink for 15 years. I've been touring with all these great artists, Stevie Nicks, Sheryl Crow, Billy Idol, Cher, Foreigner, for 32 years. And I finally realized, you know what? I have a greater purpose and a greater chance to communicate something of deeper value when I speak. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to take away the safety net and I'm going to just become a full-time speaker. And it's just turned out to be so incredible. And I'm so grateful about it.
That's really cool. I mean, there's a lot there, as the jargon of the day, Mark, is. There's a lot there to unpack, but really, I'm just kind of riff here for a minute, and then I'd like you to speak to it. First of all, the safety net. There's the cliche that says with discomfort or change is where growth happens. So I'd like you to speak a little bit about that.
Well, to paraphrase Darwin, those who survive are the ones who are the most adaptable to change. And I actually speak about this in my session, in my speech. I simplify it. I say, look, there are one of 2 ways of dealing with change. You either embrace it or you resist it. And what you resist persists and can be overpowering. And it's amazing when you embrace change. Great example for me was I was supposed to speak 100 times in 2020, right? Doing what I call my rock show that disguises a keynote live. And in 2 days, I had 19 speaking gigs in the month of March and April to drop out. And at first, I was literally paralyzed. And I was so resisting the change. And then I woke up the 3rd morning and I thought, what kind of pathetic story am I telling myself? And I made a conscious decision. When you make a decision, you're cutting off all other possibilities. I decided to literally embrace that change. And the moment I made that decision, I literally started becoming creative and solutions oriented. Instead of being barrier fixated, I became goal oriented and goal focused. And then I couldn't wait to do my first virtual presentation because I knew the virtual world was upon us, but I'd been telling myself all these stories as to how I couldn't incorporate the drumming, how I couldn't incorporate all the interactivity because I'm very, very active. And since then, I've done nearly 100 virtuals for some very happy clients. So I talk about the power of embracing change. And I've used this so many other times in my life with when I'm resisting something, when I embrace it, it's really amazing what your mind does. Your mind follows suit. It's like we are senior to our mind, so to speak. We make the decision, whatever it is, the spirit, the being, whatever you want to call it. And the mind really does follow suit. It's really profound how when you embrace that change, you take away the safety net and you just go for it and it just literally one door closes and a much bigger door opens up. And that's
Yeah,
what I found.
you touched on an interesting phrase there, and it's no accident. I love language. I speak several languages, and there's no accident. I'm in the keynote speaking business. I'm your keynote curator. You talked about the barriers, and the decision is killing off options, and side is really to kill off homicide, fratricide, pesticide, as opposed to you got real with yourself and you made a choice about virtual or whatever changes are happening, whether it's leaving the safety net of touring with a world-renowned artist or any other artist that are all world-renowned that you've worked with. And that power of choice versus killing off the options and left kind of by omission or default, what there is just a whole different paradigm. And like you said, the mind follows suit. You are what you think. You are what you say. And here at the Keynote Curators, I'm kind of beating the dead horse, but we believe that a speech can change the world. So with that said,
I will tell you, I do not believe that you should give a speech unless your goal is to change the world.
Yeah.
Because it's the butterfly effect. You are affecting every single individual. And obviously there'll be more people that are going to be more resonant with your messaging. But I am convinced that when I get up and give a speech and then I see hundreds of people lined up to come up and tell me their story and take a photo behind the drum set and get the autograph, something has resonated so strongly. And I am literally there, and any great speaker is there to raise energy, to raise awareness, and to create content value that is literally going to change their worlds. And it affects everybody. And I give a lot of challenges out. I give my QR code. I ask people to respond to me. I give them a free snare drum if they do. I mean, I really do challenge the audience to literally change their world.
Yeah. And we do live in a world that also is inhabited by people who are full of possibility and are walking a pathway of what's possible. But it's also accompanied with cynics and resigned individuals. And we've all been there. It's part of being human. So when you and I concur and share the thought that, a speech can change the world, a speech should only be given if one of the intentions and purposes behind it is to change the world, the cynics and those resigned will be like, oh boy, just give the speech. Maybe I can learn something and take it away and be practical. But learn one thing from your keynote. Take it away, apply it, and there's the transformation. And there's the seed that was planted, even inside of a soil of cynicism. It's the possibility can still grow.
Soil of cynicism. You are a linguist. That's wonderful. Before I go on stage, when I do my little mantra prayer, whatever you want to call it, my focus is completely what I will create for them. I don't talk about myself at all. The only thing that I talk about relative to myself is that I am what I call the rock and roll vessel, that I am communicating everything that they need to hear. So I'm going to change their life, change their perspective. I'm going to raise their energy. I'm going to exceed their expectations. I'm going to educate them. I'm going to entertain them. I'm going to engage them. It's all about them, not about me. And I think the great speakers truly understand that. They understand that they are there completely to be of value. And it's not about them. And my first book was called Conquering Life Stage Fright. One of my biggest issues, and one of the funniest things to me is I realized when I was getting overwhelmingly deleterious stage fright, there's a good word for you, overwhelming stage fright. I stopped one day and I said, who am I thinking about? I thought, myself. Yeah. And I just started laughing to myself. I said, why the hell are you thinking about yourself? Who should you be thinking about? And I peeked through the curtain and I looked at the audience and I just looked at these people. I said, I am in such an amazing, fortunate position. I have a platform here. So why the hell am I thinking about myself? And then the anxiety just kind of dropped off and I got light and I realized that's what I'm here for. That's what the great speakers, that's what any great communicator is here for.
Yeah, it's really well said. The meeting planners that are focused and have their intention purely out on their attendees and the audience, and those that are coming to their event to be nourished, to be educated, to connect with their peers, with people in their industry and their organizations, and the focus of the meeting planner is there serving that intention, it's going to bleed and resonate through the event. And that is the foundation. That is the soil with which the purpose can be harvested from. And the meeting professionals that we work with here at the Keynote Curators are the ones that have their intention and their focus there, out on the attendees and out on the audience. And that's how you're going to have a foundation for an event that's going to source change and transformation.
I love exactly what you said, and I absolutely agree. And that stems from the meeting planners making the right choices.
That's right.
Because a great meeting planner that's really in tune with the client, really in tune with what the audience needs and what the client really expects, and what specific concepts that they want nurtured and what experience they want to have, then the meeting planner is going to make sure that they present the client with speakers that are going to create that transition, create that metamorphosis, create that unexpected, incredible experience. That's why we rely on the meeting planners, we rely on the agents, we rely on everybody to be present and everybody to really be paying attention to what it is that the audience needs. Then they're going to make the right choice. Because I've heard time and time again, oh, that was the wrong speaker, that was the wrong speaker. And I just love it when I come in and I just know I'm the right person. Because the meeting planner and the agent and the client, everybody made the right decision to enhance the lives of everybody there.
Yeah, I use the word curator because that's what I do. I have to pair or match the right presentation, presenter, keynote, or message for each unique audience, right? And what gets in my way, just like you shared so beautifully, when you look past the curtain and you look out there, I can get past my own taste. I can get past my own ego. I can get past my own desires and wishes. And I'm channeling my client. And I say, ooh, Mark is a perfect fit for that kind of messaging, because apart from the energy, apart from the motivation, we need somebody who can deliver a message that's going to address getting in tune with who you're working with, who you're delivering your services and product to, and how to have that magical spark of connection with, just as an example. But the point of how you prepare on that pre-show blessing, if you will, but you're focused out there, that's what it takes for the meeting planner and for the speaker to deliver that magic. And it's not easy because, again, I return back to this cliche phrase, we're human, and what gets in the way? What we want, what our desires, our fears, our anxieties, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really powerful place to come from. And I know the two that you did recently this week and the two you have booked next week, that comes through. But if you'll permit me, Mark, I'd like to shift gears a little bit.
Of course.
You ready? I have an itch.
Drum roll.
Yes.
There you go.
I have a little
Shift
bit
gears.
of an itch, and I'm not really sure what to do with it.
Oh, what's going on? Wait a minute. Are you cheating on me?
So
You're cheating on me.
I have a little bit of an itch here, and I'm not really sure what to do with it, So help me out here, I can't really spin
Ask me anything. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? You want to know my original impetus? You want to know my little story? I can tell you my little story quickly if you like. What do you want to know? What would you like?
Yeah. So let me just cue you up with this. So you said before, quote, and I'm going to quote here, creativity and sustainable solutions cannot be cultivated in an environment of fear and pessimism. Failure is a key ingredient of creativity and innovation. To be creative, you must be willing to take risks. So share with us your origin story, a time where you took a risk that led to a creative solution.
Well, what I begin my first book with is the story of how I miserably failed an audition with a supergroup called Bad English, because I thought I was ready. I was serious. I'd been recommended, and I got there and I was rushing and I was nervous and I couldn't concentrate. I was rushing so badly. Now, rushing is the worst thing a drummer can do, because a drummer needs to have consistent tempo. I mean, rushing the tempo, like speeding up.
Not from Moscow rushing.
Yeah, no, not rushing, not Russian. So I was rushing so badly that at one point the musical director stopped and he literally tossed a metronome, a timekeeping device at me and said, watch the light. That's when I knew it was over. And I knew that I had miserably failed. And I knew that I really wasn't prepared. Even though I had done a lot of professional gigs, done studio gigs, had my own band, and I left and I was devastated. And I was sitting in my car, literally crying, beating on the steering wheel, going, accountant, attorney, dentist. I should have listened to what my Jewish parents told me I should do with my supposed high IQ. What am I doing? And I was miserable. And I went back home and I just crawled into bed and I pulled the covers over my head and I was defeated. And I thought, you know what? This is not for me. I don't think I could take this. And then I had an epiphany. I just threw the covers off and I said, you know what? This is the moment of truth. And I knew that was going to be a defining day. I thought it was going to be the day I got my first big gig. What it defined was whether I was willing to either get off that stage or get right back on that stage and do the work. So I made the commitment to do the work. And I spent the next 2 years focusing nearly exclusively on creating a really solid, enhanced foundation of great time and tempo. So I knew that would never happen again. No matter how nervous I got, I knew I had built that foundation.
And did you seek out coaching? Did you seek out mentors?
Oh, well, yeah. I joined the rhythm course and I studied and I did everything I could do. Not to mention I kept on playing in bands. And I also got very comfortable with a metronome because instead of looking at the metronome as my nemesis, I decided to look at the metronome as my friend, as my ally. And since then, ironically, I have auditioned for Stevie Nicks, for Cher, using a metronome. They didn't even see it because it was in my ear. But I was such a stickler for perfect tempo. Even when the musical director for Stevie said she doesn't like metronomes, I said, okay. I used a metronome anyway because I wanted the tempo to work. And then I got the gig, and every single day, every single song, I played with a metronome because I wanted to create muscle memory for the band. I was being of service for the band above and beyond what they even knew would be the best thing for them. So it ended up, I just took everything that I was resisting, we talked about earlier, and I embraced it. And that became the foundation of my success. And then I just performed with all of these amazing artists. And so much of that has to do with what I realize now that I speak about. We call it a formula. It's not exactly a formula, but it begins with the power of attitude. And when I say that to the audience, they go, attitude, really, drummer? Like I tell this whole big story and they say, that's the best you got, really, attitude, schmattitude. I said, I'm going to demonstrate the absolute power of attitude. But check this out. Your attitude. We know so much of the time we cannot control what happens to us, as evidenced by the pandemic. It happens every single day. We realize there's so much out of our control. But at any point in time, you have the power to change, control, or shift your attitude about what is happening to you. And I know it sounds simple, but all it takes is a decision to choose an attitude that serves you. And remember, we talked about when you make a decision, you're cutting off all other possibilities. Because here is the clincher. Your attitude is what drives your behaviors. Now, think about the implication and the power of that. So one attitude can drive many behaviors. This is really, really critical. So by shifting your attitude to an attitude that serves you, you're driving a behavior that serves you. And your behavior is what determines the consequences or outcomes of your life. And this is ABC, attitude, behavior, consequence. My next book is called The Attitude Equation. So what I did is I interviewed rock star performers, everybody from Howie Mandel to Judd Apatow to the late, great Tony Hsieh to so many amazing people, Grant Cardone, about their experience with attitude. High performers and their experience with their attitude and how their attitude worked for them, how there were points where their attitude undermined them and they needed to make a conscious shift of their attitude. And they didn't even know what was going on. But as the interviews progressed, they realized, wow, my attitude really did shape my behavior, which shaped my consequence. And then we have so much fun in my speech because I tell all these stories about all these artists that have actually literally created attitude shifts. And I talk about my own experience with cancer and how I created attitude shifts. And then I demonstrate how you can literally create an immediate attitude shift. And we do it in less than a minute. And I get everybody up in the audience standing up and creating an immediate attitude shift. I usually pick joy as an example of attitude. And then these people are screaming in joy because what I'm doing is I'm lifting the energy and making people realize what a simple concept like that has so much power.
Ode to joy.
Ode to joy. Well, ode to attitude, because
Yeah, ode
the
to
found,
attitude.
all these years there was, studies about behavior modification. That's BS. It's all about attitude modification. You
You know,
modify your attitude, you can literally create behaviors and consequences you never imagined possible. And that is what has driven my life for so many years. And I co-wrote the book with Dr. Jim Samuels, who's actually the man that created that concept. So I'm a conduit of the concept, but it really, really works. And it has changed so many lives. I've gotten thousands of emails from people because I talk about some very specific attitudes. I don't want to give away the farm because I want people
no,
to
you don't
actually,
have to. You don't
see
have
what
to.
it's like when they hire me. But I give some very, very specific attitude shifts that are so profound and so easy and so effective, and presented in a way that I'm playing drums and there's video. We're talking about artists, and I'm playing along with Cher videos and Pink videos and Billy Idol videos. That's why I call it a rock show disguised as a keynote. But the messaging and the energy and the experience that people get is what matters. And that's my commitment. I mean, I studied with 2 speaking coaches, an acting coach, a director, a storyteller. I've done everything I can do. And I'm constantly raising my game, and I'm constantly improving and constantly finding different ways of presenting. I just recently started going out in the audience with a mic and becoming a little bit more interactive. I stole that. I saw Magic Johnson. I realized
That's
Magic
right.
Johnson's always in the audience. He's a celebrity, but I thought I could capitalize on that a little bit more and just involve the audience and do the little selfie thing and, ask people little questions that are very quick. Time is very concerning. So I need to be very, judicious with the time. But I think it's really critical to be connecting with everybody else. And I want to say just one more thing. I know you want to talk, and I know I'm talking a lot.
No.
But I think it's really, really critical for any speaker or any presenter. And this is just a little bit of information I'll give to you if you're giving a pitch, if you're talking to a client, if you're talking to your employees. And this is, again, a bit from my first book, which is I don't look at it as a group of people. I look at it as I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to you. So when I walk the stage, and I learned this from Patricia Fripp, one of my speaking coaches, because I was a little frenetic and I was going back and forth and walking, she said, you look and you just connect with every single person you can connect with. You look right in their eyes. And I never say you guys, I always say you, because I want them to feel like they are sharing a personal experience with me, except when everybody gets up and we do a lot of interactive. I do interactive clapping to demonstrate the importance of active listening, as an example. I mean, there's so many things that I do to enhance communication. But I think it's really critical for any speaker and any presenter and any person who's pitching, anybody who's communicating, to realize it's just one person and one person and one person. And that will also can knock out that stage fright feeling or that, that apprehension. So anyway, I've talked a lot. You could talk.
No, that's why we have you here. You're the guest. This is your vessel today to share all the magic. It's quite smart, and this isn't like inauthentic flattery, because Magic in his keynotes, the whole structure is around connecting. And that's his vessel, and that's his vehicle for his apparatus to be able to connect his anecdotes and his message. And in the moment, on the spot, he's very present to be able to connect either where somebody's from, what they do, who they are, who they're with, maybe their family, their team, their supervisor, or their teammates in the organization. And so, I love to see when speakers borrow from each other and then make it their own, if you will, that it works in a way, like you say, being judicious with time or doing it for groups where it's warranted or it corresponds. But I wanted to take one thing. There are a lot of things you said that I want to build on. But one thing was great is that, it all started when you were sharing about bad English and the situation that just went completely sideways. That became a problem in the moment, right? You're in an audition. It went sideways. Here's the thing, Mark, what I got from what you just said. How you view the problem is how the problem occurs. And so it occurred to you in the moment. We're human. We're allowed to go through that flush of embarrassment, frustration, even anger, and a whole litany of other feelings and emotions. But then what? You can go to bad feeling town. You can go to crazy condo, but don't live there. Don't build your house there. And then how it occurs is that opportunity. You went to work, you took classes, you went to the studio, you worked with the metronome. And that's one of the many takeaways from what you shared. I want to shift it a little bit to improvisation and how you use that in your work, not only in the speaking and in the performing, but just in general. And here's my little short editorial, and take with it what you want or leave it. Improv, from what I understand, and the speakers and performers who I've worked with, requires being present. And in today's world, especially post-pandemic, mental health and being aware and mindfulness are ever more important. And to me, it seems like improv is a species of mindfulness. Can you share with us your thoughts on that a little bit?
I love what you just said, by the way, and I completely agree. Improv is an absolute species. Yes, yes, Matthew. It is an absolute result of mindfulness. All I would add to what you said, because you really described it really beautifully, is improv is an opportunity to recognize opportunities, to see an opportunity a spontaneous opportunity. Someone gives you some information, and to improv is to respond, is to see the opportunity. One of the things that freaked me out when I was younger is when I found out about auditions that I didn't know about. They were missed opportunities. So one of my big fears in life became missed opportunities. So if you are mindful and you're aware of all the communication and you're aware of what the audience is doing, you look for opportunities to improvise. I love improvisation because my speech is basically planned out. But man, there are times where I just see an opportunity and I go off of that opportunity. That's what musicians do. Musicians are trained to improv. And great improvisation is responding to the other musicians. If you're off in your own world and you're improving, then you kind of don't have the efficacy that you would have if you're in, like you see some jazz players, an example, the guy standing on the side of the stage doing this. Other people are turned in and they're in the band, and you feel the sense of unity. You feel the sense of mindfulness and the sense of, I have an opportunity that I'm going to respond to what somebody else says. So that is what great improv is, recognizing opportunities and seizing those opportunities from a guy who has spent his life understanding the value of opportunity, because I've missed them. And I made vows to myself that I'm not going to miss these opportunities. If I need to pay more attention, contact more people, be more present with my audience, then I have that opportunity to improv, and I get that opportunity to really respond as opposed to react. I talk about that in my speech as well. When you're reacting, you're just playing old responses, old prejudices, old defenses. When you're responding, you're inventive, you're creative, you're literally inventing on the spot. That's improv. When you respond in communication, you're making something from nothing. I love it, man. You and I could sit down for hours. We got to do this. We got to sit. Where do you live?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
All right. Well, when I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, you come to Los Angeles, brother. We got to sit down and hang out.
Come on down. There's room for everybody. And as my girls' weekend school that they go to, there's room for everybody.
That's great.
Shalom
Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem. It's interesting, there's this counterintuitive balance, or this yin and yang, between being completely prepared, structured, even scripted, if you will, if you'll permit me.
Yeah.
But it's almost counterintuitive. That's what permits one to be open and be a conduit or a vessel for the improv. Because the more prepared you are, controlling or being aware of what's within your realm, then something comes along. There's all the unknowns that you can handle have been handled, and now you're more open. Is that kind of what happens? Because
you literally took the words out of my mouth. I say the exact same thing that you just said. I've said it in so many interviews. Because part of my first book, it's called Conquering Life Stage Fright, but it's really about 3 steps to top performance, which is clarity, capability, confidence. You need an absolute clear vision about your purpose and your why and what you are doing, because then you can amply create the competency, clarity, and the capability. Then you know what you need to focus on, and you put in your 10, 20, 30,000 hours. And that's what creates absolute confidence. And when you're truly confident, in your script, you're truly confident in what you've rehearsed so much, it gives you the opportunity to go off script because then you can come back anytime you want.
That's
It's
right.
like a great comedian. I've watched some great comedians, like Robin Williams used to do that a lot. You could tell this guy was fully prepared with a script, but he would look for opportunities to get off script to create these spontaneous improvisations, as we talked about. So I do the same thing. I've got my script, but I'm looking for a chance. And that's one of the reasons why I'm loving going out in the audience as an example, because it gives me a chance to go off script a little bit and respond to something that somebody else says and respond to somebody else's needs, because we are really here to be of service. I came to the conclusion finally about 10 years ago. I woke up one morning and I said, everything I do is to be of service. Whether I'm playing drums with Pink on that stage, raising a child, supporting the other band members, when I get on stage as a speaker, I am purely here to be of service. I tell the meeting planner and the client, I said, from the moment I land till the moment I leave, I'm yours. Whatever you want. How can I be of service to you? They expect the rock star guy to be a snob. I'm just the opposite. I make myself available because that's the reason why I'm there. That's what you're paying me to do. You're paying me to completely be of service. And that isn't just my time on stage. That's everything, surrounding and embellishing my time on stage.
Yeah, that's great. It's the servant master, master servant. There's one other thing. I've known you for a long time, have your book, have studied you, talked to meeting planners about you, with you. Share the Billy Idol story, if you will, without giving away the whole farm.
The Billy Idol story. Well, I can share a little bit of Billy's influence on me.
Yes.
Essentially, I got called to do a recording session. I got called to play on the end title theme for the movie Speed. Remember? Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, Dennis Hopper. It was marvelous. I joke about the fact that, if you go on YouTube, you can see Billy, the band, and myself all doing Speed. And that's that one up. And then I show a little footage. And then I say, and that turned into 8 years of performing with Billy Idol. And we did some recording, some touring, some writing. The only reason why I even left the gig is because his work slowed down to a standstill. And that's when I got the offer to share the stage with Sheryl Crow and Stevie Nicks, doing a tour with both of these ladies. Decisions. So I took the ladies. But Billy and I shared some amazing times together. And we were actually writing a song in my studio one day. And Billy started talking about his early performance experiences. And he looked at me and said, mate, I used to get on stage and I used to sing every single note like it was the last note I would ever sing. And I was shocked. I thought, wow, that's a level of commitment. He said, I would sing every single note like my life depended on it. Then I joke and I say, I think I sound more like Captain Jack, Johnny Depp. But
hey, it's working for me. I mean, it's working for me.
But I never thought about my performance that way. And that's what really confirmed for me that for the rock star performers, which is the foundation of what I speak about, hacking the rock star attitude, it's not just about what we play, it's about how we play it.
Yeah.
And I say to the audience, look, we all have those how days. And I know you have those what days. You have those what the hell days where you're just not engaged. You're not present. You're not communicating. You're not performing your best. Then you have these how days where you have finesse, a snap in your step. You have a greater attention, greater intention. You're smiling. You're more engaged. And I would bet money you're performing at a higher level. And then I get on stage and demonstrate the difference on drums between these two performances, the what and the how. Then I ask the audience, which drummer would you want playing in your band? Drummer number 1 or drummer number 2? And of course, they all say drummer number 2. And I say, well, thank God, because if you said drummer number 1, you are watching the wrong presentation.
Exactly. You're not.
And then I go on to talk about how every single note I play matters. I made a decision that every note I play matters. And then I realized that if I approach every note like it matters, then I'm actually attaching a sense of purpose, because how I play, the how matters, but the how is your passion, and passion is fleeting, but you want to expand on passion. The extension of passion is purpose. Purpose is why you do it. And I know we've heard a lot about why, but what I realized is if I play every single note like it matters. I'm attaching a sense of purpose to every note, every word, every thought, every action. And the moment I attach a sense of purpose to every note, word, thought, and every action, guess what? I become passionate about that thought, word, note, action. And the passion feeds the purpose, and the purpose feeds the passion. A friend of mine calls it a cycle of empowerment. And that's how you stay passionate. And that is how you activate your purpose. Because your why is literally who you are. When you connect with your why, that is an example of who you are being.
Yeah. It generates it to a point where it's almost like a calling, you know? I was listening to, as you were sharing what Billy Idol said, this morning I was listening to Bob Marley. And I think it's pretty easy just on a first blush. The guy was possessed by purpose, right?
Yeah.
So there's this song, Zion Train. Zion Train is coming your way. And the words themselves, the poetry has a spirit to it, right? It was a live version around 1975. I was in my vehicle. I just dropped my kids off at school this morning. And, my phone was connected to Bluetooth and it comes on. I pulled over. It was so moving and I was so in touch with the purpose. It was a call. You could hear that his life depended on this. It was a live performance recorded. It was so moving. I've heard that song, I'm not exaggerating, 1,000 times. But it took me to be in touch with, my purpose, where I had a moment with my children watching them walk off and, the service of every morning and every evening and all the little things that are unseen and unacknowledged that get done in service of our purpose with our families and businesses and aspirations. It was just a moment where what you were sharing with Billy Idol really connected. And it's so powerful when you bring that forth in the keynote too.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you can markedly and in a stark manner demonstrate the difference. It's really,
absolutely.
Really cool.
And people love it. People love the drums as a metaphor. I mean, I don't play a lot, but I play demonstratively because it's so obvious and drums are so kinetic and people just love the energy and the excitement. And I mean, look at me, I'm a drummer. We're hyper. We have a lot of energy. Right. It's part of I don't want to say it's part of my brand. It's part of who I am.
Yeah, it's
so what you do. It's an expansion of who I am. And I get even more energetic on stage. I get so excited because I love what I do. And the audience feels the joy. The joy, it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's even the grumpiest people. I mean, if there's a guy that isn't smiling, I'm just going to look at that guy who isn't smiling. And eventually, by the end.
Right. Well, and I tell you, when I talked about you with my meeting planners that I work with, I say, you want to breathe life into the room? Don't stop.
Thank you.
Don't pass go. You want to expand, because inspire means breathe life into, you know? And it's maybe an overused word or an understood word, right?
Yeah.
But it really is something. Mark, I think we're going to cut it there and leave a little bit on the table for next time when you're off the road and back in your studio. I'm going to get my snare out. You're going to get your snare out, and we're going to continue this conversation. But before we go, I want to walk you through what we call 20 questions. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm up for the challenge.
Here we go. What is the most interesting thing about you that we wouldn't learn from your resume?
I enjoy playing chess with my 13-year-old daughter.
Brilliant.
And she was born when I was in my 40s. I was not supposed to be able to father a child because of my cancer. So my daughter is a little miracle. And a lot of people don't know that about me.
Very moving. Very moving. Checkmate.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. When we played a few days ago, she beat me twice in a row yesterday. I beat her twice in a row. And she's 13, but she has a mind that is unbelievable. She's a bloody genius, man. She reads like 15 books a month. I mean, the fact that I beat her, I feel pretty darn good about myself. Right?
Hey,
she said, I'm only 13. I said, your mind is so acute. You are so amazing. No excuses. I beat you. I don't say like that.
What are 3 must-have items when you travel?
Oh my gosh. Well, I need my computer. I need all my electronics because I show up with my own electronics, so I don't have to bother anybody with that stuff. And a number of scarves. I love scarves. I wear scarves on stage. So I always have at least 3 or 4 scarves.
All right, so add that to the list for our next recording. The snare, and I've got some scarves that we can do dueling scarves, and you can train me on the drums.
Okay, that sounds great.
I read you were classically trained cellist when you were a teenager. Do you still play?
No, I wouldn't
know which way
I wouldn't undermine the brilliance of cellists by calling myself a cello player. Now, I played cello when I was a kid because my Jewish parents, like, drums are too loud. Can't you play a nice instrument like your brother Randy? He plays violin. He was older than me, so I started playing cello. But I did grow up and I played in the LA Junior Philharmonic. I did conduct my junior high school orchestra, but drums was my proclivity. I mean, drums found me, right? But my brother ended up buying me a Chinese cello when I was in like my 30s or 40s. And I ended up playing cello on one of the Pink tours. On the Funhouse tour, I played cello on one song because it was easy. I had just play long notes all in C. Still practice for 2 weeks. But no, I'm not an active cellist, but I learned my sense of pitch because I've done a lot of producing in my life. And by playing cello, by playing a fretless instrument, it actually really enhanced my sense of pitch.
That's really cool. Like the same discipline in music, but a different vehicle, a different vessel.
Very different vessel, yes.
Very cool. I'm going to put you on the spot a bit here. Which musician or band have you enjoyed playing with the most?
Oh, gosh. Well, there have been some wonderful things about just about everybody. I've had great experiences with all but one artist that I will not mention. I will say that probably my 2 favorite artists, one was I played with an R&B artist named Bobby Caldwell. He did that song, What You Won't Do for Love. I love playing with him. This guy is so gifted. He played Frank Sinatra in the Rat Pack in Vegas. And that song, What You Won't Do for Love, he played every instrument but the horns. Incredibly gifted, incredibly talented. I just love playing with him. And of course, I really love playing with Pink because Pink is otherworldly and she inspires everybody. The 225 people on that tour, everybody is moved by her commitment to her craft, her art, the fact that she's doing death-defying stunts and singing at the same time. It's pretty damn inspirational. And she works hard. She plays hard. I give her so many kudos. She's, quite an amazing talent. Yeah. And it was such an honor to be on stage with her because she really is all that. Cool. For me, it was easy. I was sitting here going, here's a great example. This is perfect. You'll love this one, right? My daughter's 2 years old. She and my ex-wife were in Vegas, right? We were doing the iTunes festival, but they couldn't get in, so they could just see it on a big screen. And my daughter, who's 2 or 2.5 years old, she goes, "Look, Mama, Alicia," that's Pink's name. She goes, "Alicia can fly." And then she goes, "Daddy only plays drums." So there you have it. Perfect example.
You're just a terrestrial being, right?
I'm just the guy that holds it down for the whole band, okay?
Exactly. You're just the spine and the backbone. If you could play at any venue, what would it be?
Oh, gosh.
In the world.
I have played so many amazing venues. I played Glastonbury Festival for 225,000 people with Simple Minds with Peter Gabriel standing on the side of the stage. We did 2 nights at Wembley Stadium with Pink. The only place I never played, and it might not sound that grand to you, but I never got to play Red Rocks.
I grew up in Colorado.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I know that it's special, and I've never gotten to play there. I mean, if I got to play it like the Colosseum in Greece or in Rome, that would be special. But I don't think they hold concerts there.
Well, I think that Red Rocks is a vessel that is out there in the future, and we're going to create a possibility, a pathway to somehow speaking, playing cello, whatever it is, that somehow it exists as a possibility. We're just going to put it out there. All right.
I'm with you, bro. We must be master manifestors.
Yeah. So, Mark, I think we're going to end it there. And like I said, we'll leave a little bit on the table. I just want to thank you for your energy, your willingness, your positivity, and really just your generosity of being with us and sharing not only your insights and what it is that you provide with your purpose and your passion, but the difference that you make with, the attendees, the audiences, and the meeting planners, and how you make it so easy for everybody. And while you hear it a lot, you hear the word thank you, and you hear the word we appreciate what you do, I know there is a lot you do that's in the dark corners of your preparation, or a flight gets delayed or canceled that people don't see and don't know about. And those are the things that are unseen and unacknowledged that I mostly want to thank you for, because you make a big difference in this world and you make an impact on people that's lasting and positive. And just, I appreciate that.
Well, I am really grateful for you. You are so articulate, and you are an amazing communicator and interviewer, and you bring out the best in me. So thank you so much. I'm honored to have been in your presence and to be a part of all this. So,
all righty. On that note, thank you, Mark. And we'll see for all of our listeners and viewers. We'll see you next time.
All right, my friend. Thank you, Seth. You're the best. Yes.
You got it. Thanks for spending time with us today. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to our content. We'll keep bringing you the latest industry news and insights. Don't forget to follow us on social media so you never miss an update. And if you're looking for a keynote speaker for your next event, reach out to us directly or visit our website at thekeynotecurators.com.